So transportation is a huge field. Many disciplines end up working in transportation, not just civils. So if you go to conferences or if you go to big events, you'll find people from computer science, you'll find people from electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, business, physicists, mathematicians, psychologists, law enforcement, politicians. So transportation engineering is such a huge field that civil engineers alone are not enough to fill it. So the prospects and the number of jobs and opportunities in the transportation field are enormous. Now, explicitly within the civil engineering field, now we still have lots of fields. We have the traffic, we have the transportation planning, we have the transit, which is public transportation, we have air transportation, we have freight, we have logistics engineering. Now we have air transportation, I'm not sure if I mentioned this already, but all of these fields have their own huge areas where there are lots of job opportunities. Now look at the market sectors. You have transportation engineers working in the public sector, so this is a huge arena. We have transportation engineers working in every city. There has to be a transportation engineer in the transit authorities within the city. We have in the state, we have federal, we have the private sector. So the market opportunities for transportation engineering are enormous. So the need will never go away, and people will never stop traveling. Whether the economy goes north or south, people will always need to move. Now, sometimes they will need to move to go to school if the economy is bad. Sometimes they need to move to go to work if the economy is good. But in both cases, the people will always be moving. If the economy goes sour, maybe more people will be using public transportation. So then the need increases for transit engineers. If everybody is rich, then they will start owning their own vehicles. So now there's a higher demand for traffic engineers and transportation planners. And that's one of the good sides about civil engineering and transportation engineering in specific. Demand is always there, it never goes away. It just shifts from one place to another, but there will always be huge demand. Do you see any congestion problems going away? Congestion increases. Every day congestion increases because people are moving more and further, and this requires more transportation engineers. Yes, so your generation is living in, my generation as well, we're living in a fabulous time. So throughout the history of humanity, there have been very few innovations in transportation engineering. About 5 or 6 transformations. So at the beginning we only walked, and then we discovered that we can use the animals, then we discovered the wheel, and then we had carts, and then we had the steam engine, then the cars, and now our generation is experiencing the 7th transformation, and this is the self-driving vehicles. We call them automated vehicles. Now this automated vehicles movement is going to change the way we live. It has its impacts are humongous. And they spread everywhere. They spread from the economy to the insurance to the social aspects to today lots of people cannot make trips because they do not have the means of traveling, either because they live away, isolated from transit, or because they are too young to travel or to drive their own vehicles, or too old to drive their own vehicles, or because they're war veterans and they got injuries and that are preventing them from driving. So there are lots of these populations who do not have the freedom of traveling. Now with this transformation, self-driving vehicles, all of these populations suddenly they have a carte blanche to travel as far or as often as they wish, and cheaply as well. In addition, we have many populations. This is an area in transportation engineering called social justice or social equity, who are marginalized, who cannot find jobs because they do not have the means to travel from their home to the job location, or they don't have the means to travel from their home to locations where there are jobs so that they can search for jobs. These same populations, they don't have means to. Some kids in the United States are not going to school because they cannot find a way to travel from home to school. Some people in the United States do not get medical health care because they do not have the means to travel from home to the healthcare provider. Now, all of these impacts are huge. The market for autonomous vehicles is huge, and it's a lot bigger now in the research side because we are about 12 to 15 years away from practice. So these types of technologies we will not feel their presence significantly in our lives, except around 15. Minimum estimates are 12 years away. Some people think it's 30 or 40 years. But that's not a bad thing, because today we have no idea how these vehicles will impact our lives. We know that the impact is going to be huge. For example, talk about law enforcement. So a big portion of the law enforcement budget comes from traffic violations. No more traffic violations. No more DUIs. So lots of hospitals, a big portion of their mission or of their daily activity is traffic accidents. No more of those. Talk about insurance. So insurance is based on accident rates. No more accidents. Now, insurance affects our retirement funds. It affects our economy. So when you take these huge portions or these huge impacts into account, it's a good thing that we're 15 years away, because we need to start and think, so how are we going to redirect these funds? How should we make things work? Now, this field is currently humongous. You'll find all people from all other fields right now, they want to come into transportation. They want to do research in transportation. They want to do work in transportation, because this field is huge. I have students from electrical engineering coming and say, can we do research in transportation? Students from psychology, can we do research in transportation? Mechanical, can we do computer science, math, statistics? Everybody wants to do research in transportation now, because this is a booming field.